All right, we are live with a special mystery fifth hour. We are in Miramar Beach, Florida. You all recognize our good buddy Taylor Hicks.
Mystery fifth hour.
Hey, do you remember back in the day, like you've got to be 25 to have a condo, and some dumbass parents sometimes would rent the kids condos for them and their friends.
Yeah, that is not a good idea.
Spring break or senior trip.
Yeah.
But they would have like this congregation, and it was so much fun to go to these parties. It seems like we're at one of those parties.
I
right
know.
now.
Taylor brought his entourage.
Taylor really.
I didn't know you travel with an entourage.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I learned that lesson a long time
Okay,
ago.
true or false? Did I get a call a minute ago and say, "Hey, do you have a service elevator?"
Yeah, service elevator, like the stars use.
Well, this is the reason why that I asked for the service elevator, because everybody at this festival is staying, and there's a line that's wrapped around the building.
Yeah.
But what's funny is that I go into the restaurant downstairs, and the general manager comes around, and it's actually a guy.
Is that a James Beard winner down there?
It actually is a guy
right
that actually used to book me at Stinky's.
Fish Camp.
Fish
Camp. Right over here off 38.
Yeah. I mean, I used to play down here a ton.
So the guy knew
I
you?
almost burnt down Cafe 331.
Okay, hang on. Let's hold that story. I gotta do the business here. Mystery Fifth Hour, always presented by McCurry Van and Car Rental. If you need a car, van, or truck, rent from McCurry Van and Car Rental, the local rental company you can depend on. All kinds of trucks, vehicles to choose from, including SUVs, passenger vans, easy in, easy out, easy to rent. Athens, Muscle Shoals, Huntsville, Coleman, 2nd Avenue Northwest, and Skyline Boulevard in Tuscaloosa. Here's the number, 256-559-1003. That's 256-559-1003, or McCurryRentals.com, McCurryRentals.com. Finishing the intros.
Yeah, so
hang on real quick. That's Lance Taylor Hicks. I'm Ryan Brown. Give us a thumbs up, please, and make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel.
And
if you
Jim
haven't
is
already.
Actually off camera.
Yeah, Jim's right over here talking.
He hasn't gone to bed yet. He's,
You and Dunaway were watching Tedeschi Trucks Band, which we'll get to that in a moment. But I want to hear about you almost burning down Cafe 331.
Well, Cafe 331 was a
That's
restaurant,
right when you go over the bridge.
Right when you go over the bridge, which is now North Beach Social, and we were all getting into the van, and I threw a cigarette.
I didn't know where you were going.
Into what?
The actual lawn caught on fire.
Wait, you threw the cigarette?
I did.
So you flicked a cig and the lawn out. Yeah.
Like I shouldn't have.
I didn't know you smoked.
Yeah, well.
I really didn't.
The entourage.
I just actually smoked a cigarette out there on your balcony, which is really nice.
The entourage.
I really appreciate that. Actually,
not a problem. Anything for you.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
So you flick a cig and it's a no burn. We're in a no burn probably.
Yeah,
it's a drought condition.
Unfortunately, the owner of 331, who I believe still has interest in that area, was the owner of the Red Bar down in Grayton Beach.
Ironically, which burned.
Which ironically burned. That was not my fault.
Burned to the ground. You were not there for that.
Built back nicely, and they're doing really well.
But I mean, it's interesting folklore on the beach. As playing as a musician, because even as this beach has grown, it's still run by Destin heads.
Yeah,
like old school Destin heads that, even though you think of 30A and all the influx of people from California and stuff, it's nice to know that it's still kind of it's got an old fishing village,
right?
And they're thick as thieves.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, they let the real estate go, and they make money, but it's nice to know that there's still, whether you believe it or not, there's still there's still old school Destin folks that are running the place.
If I asked you like certain places that people remember, like iconic bars, Boar's Head. You ever perform there?
Key West?
No, the one in Destin.
There's a Boar's Head in Destin? Where is it?
Was. For a minute. Yeah, it was right by AJ.
But wasn't there a Boar's Head in Key West?
I think there was one in Key West.
So I played in the one in Key West.
Oh, did you?
And I played it. Yeah, I played this one here in Destin.
What about AJ's? Grayton Beach or Destin?
Destin, old school. When I was in college, played at AJ's.
La Vila? Spinnaker?
Never did La Vila.
Sharkies?
Sharkies. Yeah, I mean, you name it, I played it.
So What was
I mean,
the worst?
I was gonna get you to guess. Start with the Floribama and go to Panama City. How many total you think you've played?
Thousands?
No, it haven't thousands. I'm just mean locations, not shows.
Oh, it
Well,
could be
back
thousands.
then-
We're
not
all
sh-
old.
not
back
shows,
then
locations.
there were probably 20 good music clubs,
Yeah.
from Fort Walton Beach to Biloxi.
The Green Frog.
And you guys go down to the Floribama and obviously do your show. Interestingly enough, I mean, I grew up playing down here on the coast because it was an easy gig, paid decent, and if you strung enough of them along, I mean, you could
You can make a vacation out of it, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, you weren't taking any money home, but
Oh yeah.
but what's interesting though is that there's a Bimini lifestyle on the coast with musicians. Really great musicians back in the day would start at Key West, Boar's Head, a couple of other clubs. They would have a
Sloppy Joe's.
The old school. And I learned from these cats. I mean, I learned how to play acoustic music and how to entertain folks. They would go from Key West and they would, play all along the coast, and they would, play the Floribama, and they would park their boats outside the back of these restaurants, kind of like here in the harbor, and they would get paid and they would move on. So it was like
sleep on the boat.
boat, I mean, and if there were trailers, there was a trailer park across the street from the Floribama called Boys Town. And that's where all of the, boaters and a lot of the musicians would actually, sleep and play. And it's wild.
Oh, I bet it was wild. So you got
Still
a bourbon.
here.
So you got a bourbon right there. You were just telling us before we started a story. Go ahead and you can take a sip. I'll reset everything. It is I don't want to deprive you of a good bourbon.
Cheers.
Cheers. It is the Mystery Fifth Hour. We were live in Destin. We Taylor and Dunaway just came from Tedeschi Trucks Band, which we'll get to that in a moment. You say it's the best live band going right now, so I want to talk some about that.
I'm gonna beg to differ.
Yeah, Lance gonna argue with you.
Well, let's argue.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be happy to.
But first, you just took a sip of bourbon. You were telling us a story before you went on. American Idol tour. You were in Vegas.
I was in Austin,
Texas. I was close.
Yeah, by the way, tonight it came up, and I had this weird talent. I was telling to people, wasn't bragging, but like I don't have a lot of talents. But one of my talents for like the first 10 years of American Idol is I could tell you once they got to the 12 finalists who was going to win American Idol.
Did you pick Taylor?
No, but I told Taylor. So Taylor told me he was like,
pick Catherine.
Did he?
I did.
No, I know why.
I mean,
I didn't know it.
that was back then. That
Yeah.
was old Lance.
That was.
Yeah.
You were chasing Catherine. Don't lie.
But
Dunaway was.
but
Dude.
I thought
Dunaway
she,
loved him. So
she
Catherine
was very
Don't tell me
talented.
that.
I was pulling for you.
Anyway, I think it was the deepest.
You've
like,
always been my boy.
would you agree? I mean, you watch the
You're my
show.
boy, Blue.
You're my boy, Blue.
For the 12 finalists, you guys had the deepest final 12, I think, in
Yeah,
the history of
there's-
American Idol.
There's still,
And-
contestants that were on my show that are still working in the business after 20 years.
I told
That's
him
a
though.
tough,
I said, I believe you're gonna finish in the top 3 because you're that talented, but you can't win this because it's not mainstream enough.
Well, that's what Simon told you right away.
Yeah, I mean,
I said it before Simon.
Okay, Lance
I
was
did,
in front
I
of
did,
Simon Cowell.
I did, I swear.
yeah, but what's interesting is that you think about whether the show is produced, and whether there's a script. There's really not. I mean, they really, I believe that they really stuck to the voting, of the show, because there's
Well, that's how you won.
I mean, Catherine, bless her heart. I mean, she, I had the flyover states, I mean,
Middle America, yeah.
I mean, and that's
And the Deep South.
And you know what? Even in today's, entertainment landscape, I mean, that's a powerful thing. Not only in entertainment, but also politics. I mean, look, I was politicking for votes. I mean, I had I sang music, had a shtick, and people, they bought into it. And,
Soul Patrol.
I mean, yeah, that was my, that was basically my campaign slogan. But I knew that this was the age of this was the birth of the internet. And just when I was on Idol, this is when, chat rooms, people actually were congregating online. I mean, this was the beginning of that, so my brother, who is a computer nerd, went to Georgia Tech, and he was able to, infiltrate some of those chat rooms to be able to congregate my fans. And
how about that?
And that was, just one of the things. I mean, look, there's a million stars that have to align, when something that big happens.
Yeah.
And karma's a bitch. I mean, I got into fight in high school when I was, we were all drinking, and actually, it was 459 was just now getting open. So they had these.
Good Lord.
So
how old are you?
The Interstate 459.
So 459 had just, I'm in high school, right?
Yeah.
So 459 had just.
You and I are the same age. I don't remember.
Well, 459.
Freaking Martin Scorsese.
I know.
Look,
giving story time.
Look, 459 was not far after you. I mean,
I graduated in 94. When did you graduate?
95.
Okay, 95. So we're the same age. Okay.
But 459 was just getting built. So a lot of the folks from Hoover High School,
You're
we
wrong,
would
Ron.
go.
You're wrong on this.
We would go. Well, fact check it right quick on your phone. But we would go up and we would have, we would do our high school thing. And I got in a fight, and I kicked a guy's Toyota 4Runner. And I just was mad or something. And I actually top 3. I was, on my way to winning that show. And I thought to myself, is there any karma out there that you can think of that will put a cog in the wheel?
Right.
And I actually got his number, top 3, and called him and apologized for that.
Was he cool to you?
Absolutely. He couldn't believe it.
Was he watching the show?
No, I bet he was.
Yeah, he was watching the show. Yeah,
he was pulling for Catherine, but he was watching.
Hey, so what was the girl's name you kicked the car over?
We were just being high school kids. I mean, I think it was, there was some Vestavia folks. I mean, Vestavia and Hoover had a pretty nasty run.
Oh, yeah.
Still do.
So the parking lot was Papa Joe's?
Papa Joe's.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where the fights went down.
Yeah. That's where, that's.
Like we sometime would rotate a Homewood guy into the parking lot, but it typically was Barry Vestavia back then.
Yeah. That was, I when I was playing basketball, I actually got in a fight with Coulter Bean.
Oh, the Auburn pitcher?
The Auburn pitcher.
Well, Major League pitcher, too.
Yeah.
And he was, did he go to the Yankees or something?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Coulter was the Yankees. Yeah.
Coulter and I had a, altercation. That was a Vestavia, Barry thing, but I was blessed. I mean, listen, I was the first graduating class out of Hoover High School in 95. And we went from a 400 person gym to a 3,500 person gym. And I look at that today, and I think about, that helped me, understand, that gave me a crowd way early on to not only, to entertain by athletics, not music, but it was a blessing because I was able to play, basketball in an environment like that, which, carried through college.
It still blows me away how big y'all's classes were at Hoover. And with that said,
700.
It was that your graduating class, 700?
700, 800.
Yeah.
Like Homewood
I had 125 at Saks.
was right at 200 when I graduated.
Wow.
But I was going to ask you, some of these gigs you've played in front of, what is the absolute?
Did you play for Coach Gann?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. So worst crowd you've ever seen numbers wise, and do you remember where it was? How bad it was?
I mean,
because we get like Rockstar, Rockstar, our producer, plays, and he's very sarcastic, he's jaded, he's negative, whatever you want to say, but he will send us, this is what the crowd looks like.
He'll shoot the shot with his microphone in the foreground and nobody's in the background.
Yeah, I mean,
do you take it personally?
No, I mean, I played to nobody, for years. I mean, sometimes, and I picked up this thing from an old musician that I worked with, and we were playing some sort of wing joint down in Auburn, and there was like one person there, and he was like, he said, "How does this sound?" And everybody clapped, and he said, well, "Sounds fucking free, don't it?" So it was like, no cover charge. I mean, and he actually was a fantastic musician. Who, by the way, his daughter, McClellan, I can't think of her name, but she plays frequently at the Floribama, and he was great, man. He taught me a lot. I mean, his name was Billy Earl McClellan.
Oh, what a good name.
Yeah, he was.
That's a good country music name.
Or a convict.
Yeah, either one. When you use the middle name, you're either country music or a convict.
That guy could rob banks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he taught me a lot. I mean, he was fantastic. He's a slide player. But
Speaking of slide,
okay, here we go.
Let's get to this. The festival we're at right now, not a festival. It's not a festival.
Yeah.
Todd, what is it?
A music vacation.
Music vacation.
All right.
The music vacation we're at tonight.
And that's the reason why I'm here.
Right. Well, explain. I mean,
who
you saw tonight and who you believe right now is the best live act on tour.
Well, I mean, I've always followed Derek. Derek and I used to actually play at the War Eagle Supper Club when we were about the same age, and immediately I knew that he was special. I mean, everybody did. And he has grown into his craft, and as far as the dynamic with his wife, who also was discovered by B.B. King. She's from Connecticut. She was a great player and a singer. She's got a great album. Austin City Limits was her kind of a breakout album for her. And she and Derek met and they formed a band. Derek has kind of carried the torch for the Almonds. It's a very, very close-knit family of people and musicians. Interesting genealogy from a musical aspect. Butch Trucks was Derek's uncle. And, when you think of Greg and Dwayne Allman, the brothers.
Was that the best ever brother combo, like in musical history? I mean, like you got the Van Halens. I mean,
yeah,
I love the Robinson brothers.
That's all.
Robinson brothers,
I love some Black Crowes.
The Ferris's brothers in the NXS.
Yeah, that's
the Gallaghers.
That's debatable. I mean,
Snoop Dogg and Nate Dogg.
Yeah. I right after I won Idol, Snoop and I had the same manager.
Oh yeah.
And I asked to sit in with him at City Stages, and he said yes. I asked him. I said, "Have you ever had blues harmonica on Gin and Juice?" And he was like, "No, man, I never." And I was like, "Well," I said, "Do you?" He's like, "Come on down." So I ended up playing PlayStation with him.
You and Snoop playing PlayStation at City
2
Stages.
hours.
Hey, was the cloud just checking?
You couldn't even see the screen.
I mean, that's kind of like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
What game were y'all playing?
Between we were playing it was
Mortal Kombat.
no, it was we were playing the football.
Madden?
Madden.
Yeah.
And as a rite of passage, not only with Snoop, but with Willie, I think that's very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
So you had to
Willie's
had to go through it to get to it.
Dude, Willie's 91. He turned 91 this week.
Yeah.
And he's still performing.
Willie had a guitar player named Jody Payne who was with him for 30 years. And Jody was he grew up in South Alabama, played with Willie for years. And he had he always wore a jacket he had the Red-Headed Stranger on the back of it. And he passed. He was Willie's side man for years. And a lot of Birmingham connections to music that people don't realize. I was talking to Jim. Kofi Burbridge was Derek and Susan's piano player and organ player. Fantastic musician whose brother is Oteil Burbridge, who played with the Grateful Dead, the later part of Dead, which was Dead and Company. After Jerry died, they got all the band together, but they're from Birmingham.
Let me ask you this. If you were to would maybe the best musician from our state ever, Lionel Richie. And interesting, he was an American Idol judge, might still be. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, to be honest with you, they had something in AL.com, and I think in the 5th hour, I can actually vent a little bit about that. It's like, they had this tournament where it was like,
like bracketed out.
Yeah, it was bracketed out what the best, idol or best reality show TV guy, and I was like pitted against Lionel, but he's not a reality.
I mean, he is a judge on Idol, but I don't view it the same.
AL.com, bless. I'm
well.
cool
A couple
with
of things. Do you think he is maybe the top singer to ever come out of this state? I'm trying to think out loud. You know better than I do.
Hank Sr.
And the other thing, I mean, have you had a conversation? Do you know him at all?
I have. We I actually had some time with him on. I did the NBC tree lighting ceremony that they usually hold. They in New York, and he was on.
Dunaway said that tree's small.
Yeah, it's smaller than you would think, is what Dunaway said. The tree, the Rockefeller Center tree.
Yeah, it
really?
Is. Yeah, it's not as big as you think.
Like Sylvester Stallone, you look at him in person, you're like,
yeah, it's But I think as far as songwriter, singer, I definitely think he's up there. I'm actually on the board of the Alabama Music Hall of Fame, which
you'll be there. Hey, but
I'm working.
But
I'm actually literally working to get there. But
who are other guys? Give me a couple, like 3 or 4 that would be with Lionel Richie.
It's a group, but Alabama to me is more successful than Lionel Richie.
Oh no!
Oh, 100%.
No way!
Man, Alabama had 41 #1 hits.
Alabama has more hits than the Beatles.
More than the Beatles.
Yeah, but that's a niche.
A niche. It's country music.
Hey, you know what, Jim? I'm not going to let you say a word because you did not want to come on tonight.
You didn't.
You didn't.
Yep.
You said so. You know what?
Still.
Sit
still with that ego.
I am putting an embargo
on Dunaway.
On Dunaway.
Good luck.
I asked him because Dunaway. Dunaway and I have had some great conversations over the last few months.
I know.
We were holding court in Dan Tana's in Hollywood, which was a blast.
Oh, I've heard the stories. Yeah.
We and not to mention the infamous Miami.
I remember that.
What was it?
I think
it was a speakeasy, and the weirdest thing, they had Narcos on the TVs behind the bar, nonstop on loop. Narcos.
People getting gutted ear to ear.
Yep.
I mean,
that was
that was like one of the first times that like Jim was actually staying out with everybody.
Well, that's what he was always on the ledge of devil angel, and he finally came over.
But I love Jim. Jim and I have had some great conversations, but I don't think it's fair that he bows out and then he's going to lob some of these softballs over to us.
So would you agree with me that Alabama is more successful than Lionel Richie?
I mean, it
is two different genres. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean that's I think as far as
check that net worth.
I think as far as famous musicians from Alabama, whether they write or Lionel's definitely up there. Look at his catalog.
Oh, I know, it's tremendous.
It's
good.
Easy, which is one of my favorite songs.
Easy was like one of the best songs ever used on a direct TV campaign.
One of my favorite drinks in the local area.
Is Easy?
Was Easy. It's got a little bit of hemp.
Right. It's a non-alcoholic.
I lived on Easy when I did Dry February.
I did. That's a
Piggly Wiggly. Todd Coder told me to go get some.
That's a very it's hot right now.
Yeah.
And that's I like them.
Smuff says Tedeschi trucks freaking amazing. That's what he says about Tedeschi trucks.
Yeah,
did we see them?
Well, first of all,
we saw the Teskey brothers, who I like.
That's similar.
They're badass.
Yeah, Australian brothers.
Which is awesome.
Hey, by the way, I got to ask you this. So my girlfriend Maddie over there, real quick. No, and I've always thought this, listening to David Bowie or Mick Jagger and the Australian guys.
It's weird how they lose their accent.
Why did they lose their accent singing? Tell us that.
I think because they have grown up singing and mimicking their idols, and that's just something that they've done. So I think that when
but what if your idol was Mick Jagger? I've just never heard an accent in a song. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Jagger definitely does it. I mean, you know, you're so vain.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't hear it a little bit with Jagger. I would agree.
But
Most
yeah,
don't.
a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of these artists grow up listening to their idols, and if they're from different countries, I mean, it's a, you know, an auditory thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they, you know, and so when they, you know, when they go to their speaking voice, it's different. But the Teskey brothers were great. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's interesting seeing groups and artists that are popular now through the COVID, you know, the COVID years.
Right.
Because I've seen plenty. LaVey is a. I mean, I felt like I was one of her followers, and you know, she's fantastic. And you know, and the Teskey brothers. I mean, they, you know, they put their music and their songs on the internet, and you know, here we are. You know,
I mean, that's how.
but you know what? Here's the thing. After some bourbons, I mean, you got to have the goods.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, it's funny. It's like you can't bullshit America. You know, American. You know, that's the one thing that's great about America. Is like my monitor guy worked for Idol for years. He was like, man, they always get it right. You can't bullshit America. They pick the best singer. And, you know,
Typically,
to your chagrin, they pretty much have.
typically, yeah. Not all the time. Not all the time.
You know, I mean, that's.
I mean, Catherine McVeigh was more talented than
Wow. God almighty. Did
you
you?
know, I mean, there's talent in
That was a joke. I said Catherine earlier.
There's I mean, look, Catherine was great. I mean, she's, you know, I mean,
She was on Scorpion, and she married like a billionaire, right?
David Foster, who was cool dude, by the way, but way older.
Oh yeah.
But she also was. I mean, I think she was married to an older guy when we were on the show, actually. So it's kind of a thing, you know. But she was kind of, you know. I mean, you know, like I said, I had the flyover stage, which is, you know, whether Hollywood wants to, you know, buy into that or not. I mean, that drives business.
No, but what was crazy? So
It's like politics. It's
but
very
you were
similar.
one
in that regard.
Yeah, in that
it
regard.
shows.
Yeah.
But you were one. McPhee was two. Chris Daughtry three.
No, Elliot, you mean three?
Oh, was Daughtry?
Was
different?
Daughtry your year? He was fourth.
Daughtry 4.
Oh, how
and
did
then
Elliot Yamin be in front
Never,
of Daughtry?
never even heard of that guy. What's he? Great guy.
Elliot, yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of great guys in the world, Dunaway.
That's
but
deep.
you know, Elliot's you know, Elliot, in my opinion, had the best singing voice on our show.
Really? I
Yeah.
don't remember him.
And you know, Elliot's you know, Elliot, speaking of borrowing from singers and stuff, Donny Hathaway is, you know, a very famous R&B singer, and he borrowed, you know, I mean, Elliot studied Hathaway, and I'd never heard vibrato like that.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, when you think about vibrato, you think the oh, you know, it's the frequency, and Whitney Houston had uncontrollable vibrato.
How's your
Was it?
vibrato? How is
How's
your
it?
But it's not
Mine?
great.
How's yours?
Not great. I can't sing.
Ah,
like
be
my-
say day.
that. That's it, Lance.
No, but
I'm warming up.
When you say
before I get my
uncontrollable,
bravado.
uncontrollable by Whitney Houston, like she
So-
literally couldn't control it, or you mean she was so good at it?
It was the vibrato was right there.
Yeah.
And vibratos. I mean, it's a gift. You know.
I mean, but
and-
you're talking about maybe the greatest voice of all time with Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I mean, she was a Clive disciple. I take pride in being a Clive Davis disciple.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I couldn't believe that I was, you know, had to go toe to toe with him on a record, which was interesting. You know, like you know, he was like, "You should get back in the studio and sing this part," and I was like, "God, man,
I got to go play golf.
No, I don't want to sing this, you know."
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he taught me a very good lesson. You know, I sang this, you know, this part over and over again, and Clive called me, and I said, you know, Clive, I can't sing it again. I said, you know, I'm, you know, and Clive, from the get go, Clive actually called Bruce Springsteen, and Bruce actually cleared my song "Dancing in the Dark," where I got to, you know, I actually
On the show.
on the show.
Yeah.
And so Clive taught me a great lesson, and he and I sparred musically, and Clive said, even though this was Clive Davis, he said, you always have to give way to the artist. So it was ultimately up to me to have the final decision, which I've always said, Clive Davis was he was a music lover, he's a lawyer, super successful in A&R.
His resume is crazy.
But a lot of people under him found the talent. It wasn't like Clive was hitting the local, Hollywood.
He was picking good people.
Yeah, he was picking good people that picked good people.
Hey, let me ask you this. I've never asked you this before. When did you realize you could win American Idol? Because I never believed it until, and again, I was addicted to the show like the first 5 or 6 years. I was. Dunaway's laughing over there. I really was. But I never believed you could win it until it got down to the final 3. But for you, on that journey, you're a finalist, which has got to be a win in itself.
I mean, during that time, yes. I mean, the show was
but
juggernaut.
But going, a lot of people don't know, like, you didn't give a shit. Like, you had a last ticket out of New Orleans before Katrina.
Yeah.
And you could have chose to go a different way. You could have stayed.
I took a taxi cab to Birmingham, Alabama, and then flew to Vegas on a whim. And my brother called me at 1:00 in the morning and said, Vegas Idol tryouts are in 2 hours. So I went and got in line.
And honestly,
everybody, I tell people this, I use this as a bit, is that everybody was asking me where my kids were that were auditioning.
Oh yeah. Did you drop your kids off?
No,
yeah, literally where you're,
you had the
they
premature gray. Yeah.
Well,
you were George Clooney back then. You're Gandalf now. You were Clooney then.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's debatable.
I'm Clooney now. I'll be Gandalf in a few years. You were gray like in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they used that as, I was lucky because they used that as a, but they were always getting me to diet on the show. They were like,
were they really?
Oh, that's horse shit.
I wasn't going to do that though, but that was something that, look, I think the SNL spoof with Jason Sudeikis,
well, you made it when they spoof you though.
And they spoofed me when I was in the top 3.
Yeah.
And
they did a Joe Cochran though, didn't they?
Joe Cochran.
No, not Joe Cochran. Oh yeah, it's Joe Cochran, right?
No,
Johnny Cochran.
That's called Joe Cocker.
Joe Cocker.
Cocker.
They didn't do that. No, Sudeikis actually.
Cochran and Cocker are close.
Yeah, it's close enough for you.
He said, that was really great writing because I was, when I started getting the text message the next morning that I'd been spoofed, I never saw it until, after it was taped. It was, my pubes looked like a genius's haircut.
That's a way to frame it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's really,
that's writing.
Ice cream, missile whipple, monkey whipple, chicken nipple. Like he's like, I can sing the phone book. Ice cream, missile whipple, monkey, chicken nipple. And Tina Fey was. It was. I was very lucky that spoof actually was well thought of.
Yeah.
It was that. And at that point in time, when you're, that you're in the common thread of, water cooler buzz in the country is, that's where, but I was on the fold. It was, obviously during the time, we were such in a bubble though. I would go downstairs and have breakfast and I would be on the fold of USA Today. And I didn't we didn't realize how big that was.
It was almost like you were prisoners of war.
Yeah. And the show was so huge.
Yeah.
What would have been the difference?
But you didn't know how big it was.
Winning or coming in second, is it a huge difference?
It not really. At that point in time, back in the day, the winner, I did 48 hours of press after I won. I flew. The first thing I did was I flew to Bentonville.
Didn't
Arkansas.
do the round table. We did put in requests. I'm just saying.
I went to Bentonville.
We had you on before Bentonville.
Yeah.
And I did the Walmart World Convention.
They pay you for that?
No. But the Walmart family was there, and we were in. No, you know what? It was Bud Walton. and they loaded me on this, this truss, and they, said hello and everything, and then we went up on this truss, and I sang, taking it to the streets, and Do I Make You Proud? And when I got off, the Walton family was there, and they said, we've just purchased a couple of million records for our stores.
Well, that was good news.
But
did you say thanks, Sam?
I was very appreciative, but you break that winner's record down, it's a
lot of people are getting cuts.
Yeah. Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
But that's the business. I mean, it's dancing with the devil. But really great experience.
Well, let me ask you, do you have a bad experience with a big time producer or artist? You ain't got to give it the name if you don't want to. We'd love if you would.
Bad experience?
Yeah, like somebody you just don't like. Like I hated Dunaway until we started working together.
And there are days.
Yeah.
Where I think it's
still debatable.
Why
mutually
my
those two.
question, I'm going to answer the question, but
okay.
why was there a riff
with me at Dunaway?
Yeah.
I was being sarcastic, but he did try to get me fired.
Oh, don't do this again. Taylor, do not go down this road.
You really
Taylor,
did?
Please. They have argued about this. We've done a show for 13 years now.
People we know,
yeah.
I'll tell you the people, they reached out to me about him, and they said he was trying to get me fired. Back in the day, it's not a big deal, but
hey, you know what? I mean, it's
just because you brought it up.
It's no different than the entertainment business. I mean, Daughtry and I had, we had a pretty big riff.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, I mean, on the show, I think he and I had the biggest egos,
I'm surprised you did though, because like when I met you, you were very even kill. You still are. Like I haven't seen you change, but I don't know why you would say you had an ego on the show.
I mean, when you're in that bubble, though, you
were the oldest guy. So
once we got out of the bubble, like, on the road, and Daughtry and I still talk, Daughtry's a fantastic, and again, great vocalist. And again, if you listen to the actual, the vocalists, on the shows,
remind me real quick to ask him a Elton John question before we shut it down.
Okay.
I just don't want to forget.
I'll make note of that.
Very important. I'm losing my mind.
Daughtry, great voice.
Yeah.
Followed the lane that he was in. Very rock, great voice.
Rock.
And then, Kelly Pickler, country, Catherine McVie, Broadway, film, TV, it's the vocalist on, usually, I was watching Idol a couple of nights ago, and, Danny Goki had a great voice. Christian, Colton Dixon, good voice. Christian. That's the keys.
Scotty McCurry, one country. Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, the show was so big that, I immediately was put into kind of a pop R&B lane. And I probably should have been put in the country lane, but the show was so big. It was, it was anything that I did at that point in time.
Simon was such a dominant personality. It seemed like he put you in the unwinnable category. It's like, we really don't know what he is, but he ain't something that's going to sell.
Yeah. And you know what? They said that same thing about Willie Nelson too.
Well, he's only 91 still.
He's still selling
out.
There's a lot to be said for, being, your own person. And I struggle with that in my career. It's.
You think the gray hair has hurt?
No.
I think it's helped.
It definitely helped, in the beginning.
Yeah.
But, I don't, what's interesting is I was in the airport in Nashville, and, some guy was, we were, having a really quick salad before we got on the plane. And he said, The Voice? I was like, nope, keep trying. Like,
You're close.
He's like, Taylor. American Idol. He's like, you haven't changed a bit. He's like, the gray hair. He's like, when my wife comes over, I want you. And she walked over and he said, honey, it's Taylor. And she's like, what? And I pointed to the wall, and she was like, George Jones.
George Jones. He's dead.
Like,
borderline fans, I would go with George Clooney. Is what you ought to do.
Who, by the way, if I may,
you may. We got some.
Simon was he was pretty obviously he was anti, he's a music business guy. But I really trimmed up, and for my first single was.
Didn't he call you fat?
He did not. No, he called me a.
No, I thought he did.
He called me a. He said that
it was something like that.
He said that I danced. He said that I danced like a drunk uncle at a wedding.
Yeah, okay, I do remember that.
Enough.
Yeah.
Can I give you a little bit? Yeah.
All right. So Tyler says, T. Hicks ever play Callaghan's Irish Social Club?
Where is that?
I got no idea. Tyler will have to hit us back up on that.
I bet it's Raleigh.
My guess is no.
Like when I'm on Paul and some of these radio hits and stuff, I don't get like callers that it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, we got some questions. AK wants to know if you're doing speaking of Paul, you're doing a new Feinbaum song when Texas and Oklahoma joined the league.
Yes, I wrote it about a week ago.
Okay.
I wrote the Texas and Oklahoma part, and I went into the studio and we're planning on cutting the track.
Hey, so if we randomly asked you to do one for us, would you do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
would you charge us?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay. Well, that may end it.
We have been like tighter than you and Paul.
Well, I know that. Well, I mean, true.
How many times you and Paul been out till 3 a.m?
One, and it was New Orleans.
No,
and it was,
really. Yeah. Feinbaum was up at 3 a.m.
No way. We went to eat dinner with him a couple of times. Brown, what does he eat?
The most amazing thing, and Rockstar talks about this all the time. There was so it was me, Dunaway, Lance, Rockstar, and Feinbaum at Fleming's, and Paul ordered a baked potato.
That was it.
That was it. And they were like, "Do you want butter, sour cream?" And nope, baked potato. So it comes. He puts some salt and pepper on it and eats every single part of it, peel and all. And I mean,
I like the peel on a baked potato. I do.
But me and Dunaway were getting like that bone-in ribeye. We got a big old steak laid on our plate.
Paul and I have had, we've had, I mean, obviously, I went on Paul's show when I was on Idol, and I wasn't supposed to.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was,
by the way,
wouldn't come on the round table.
That's had him on before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I've kept Paul out a little bit. Paul's a lot cooler than everybody thinks. I mean, Paul's had, he's a very intelligent.
He is. I told somebody.
Being.
Yeah.
Oh, he's one of
what?
The greatest interviewers ever.
Oh, and you know what? Back in the day, Paul, he had his time. He was, I think the world of him, and the fact that he would go into Alabama and write about, do op-ed about the, Bryant needing to be fired was genius. I mean, it was basically, honestly, it was very similar to what happens today to get headlines. I mean, back then, him being able to do that and pull it off was it was a mastermind. I mean, he's
what's so refreshing.
But he's also giving me shit too. Like, I mean, Paul's great about pumping people up, but at the same time, Paul's, if he'll off camera, he'll snide you a little bit, but
no, he's a transparent. He's very pointed.
I told somebody the other day I was playing golf, so I can't even remember why he came up, and I said he's like a wrestling character, like the Paul you see off camera, off air, totally different than the guy on it. When he comes on the air, he takes on like this wrestling character.
Oh yeah, and you know what? That's
some of the best. Clay Travis is like.
I know.
And listen, as far as entertainers go, from my business, I mean, sweetest guy in the world, monster on stage.
Who?
I mean, you know, just different, you
Oh
know,
yeah, different people.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
Andre the
different
Giant.
people. It's like, you know, I mean, Van Morrison, same, you know, I always look for that in artists, you know, young artists.
Callahan's is on Mobile. They say Callahan Social Club in Mobile. So you've never played it?
Been there. Yep. I
Oh,
just
you
know
remember
exactly
it
what
now?
you're talking about.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, I've played every nook and cranny you can imagine, you know, and I learned, you know, my chops. Also learned how to not say no. You know, you can.
Let me ask you, if you could
The
go
check
back,
never comes if you say
if you
no.
could go back to 20, do you think there's something you could tell yourself where you could have blown up and been like massively successful?
Are you talking about like 2020?
Yeah, no, like when you're 20 years old.
I'm
just talking about
I would
before.
probably, you know, it's funny. I was listening to
will you tell me this? You're as talented vocally in your genre as anybody else out there. You believe that. It's true. Harmonica, different things. So, like, if you knew what the secret formula was, you could blow it up.
You know, I mean, I had, you know, TMZ, you know, at my fingertips, and I probably I would have done some more publicity stunts.
Like you did the day we were playing golf. And what was it you told TMZ
I mean,
that day?
I threw you a bone.
You did.
I
You,
threw
you
you
said
off.
something on our show.
Yeah, I did.
What was it you said? I forgot. Something about the voting.
No, the voting, we talked about this earlier tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
On the show we talked about this?
No, Taylor would
before
get
we
a
got on.
heads up from a
Oh, that's
producer
right. That's right.
who was moving forward, who wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. And you said that, and then me and you were out playing golf, and TMZ
you know
runs
what's
with
funny
it.
is like, you know, when we were doing that, you know, FYI, he lit up, man. He was like, oh, he was so excited.
But Taylor,
you know, like we had
only
like,
the gamblers know the repercussions.
I was like,
what
you
can
know what?
happen.
I was like, I actually was like, you know what? I was like, you know what? I'm going to offer up that, you know,
Yep.
you're my boys. You know, I mean, and Chuck's done the same thing.
Oh, Charles has.
You know, Charles is, you know, he's giving you guys some nuggets over the years.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was like, you know what? Finally, I was like, man, I've got something that's like teetering on the edge.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let's throw it out there.
I appreciate the heck out of it.
Hits.
I was pumped.
And it did.
Yeah, we're
and
out
it
there.
was, and Ryan was, he was, and I was just like, man, you know, I was thinking like, as you guys were getting hits, like I was thinking to myself, like, how do I, you know, it's like, okay.
Now, how do I capitalize?
Like, well, no, not how do I capitalize, but like, how do I mitigate damages?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how do I, you know, and what's great is that they, you know, they asked Nigel, and Nigel, you know, it was the classic, you know, it was a really good spot for me to do that.
Yeah, it was. We appreciate it.
And it's
that.
true. You know, I knew, you know, what was going, I had insider trading information.
Yeah.
I should have bet on it.
You should have. That's right.
There were odds.
Yeah.
At the time.
And you had the knowledge.
And I never did it.
All right. We've kept you too long. Lance has got an Elton John question. I want before you do that.
Actually, you know what? It's nice to be like
you're getting waved off the stage.
Who's waving them off? Behind me, they're waving them off. Okay. If people need to go, they need to go. I got.
You know what's funny is like people like when I do, you know, shows, and they're always asking me about, you know, idol questions and stuff, and it's like, it's nice to be on and to be able to be.
Well, we're friends.
Yeah.
Well, myself to a certain degree, you know, because I mean, there's
one chew off to show me yourself.
No.
All right, I go. There's two things.
I need what it's called Lamisil, right?
Hey,
yeah,
but this is like
so,
a
you know what?
panda
Hey,
with pink.
That's right. Yeah,
that's good. Look, shoes. I like it.
That's my Pete's Jordans.
Yeah.
Last question.
2, and then Lance. I got 2 questions for you. Then Lance has the Elton John. Jeremy wants to know somebody nicer than you thought they would be in the music business, and the opposite. I mean, you don't have to answer the opposite if you want to. Somebody nicer than you thought they would be.
Van Morrison. So I was bumped for Van Morrison on Regis and Kelly. And I never, you know, and they, you know, sometimes look, I mean, it's not easy to get on, you know, national television, and sometimes you get bumped. So you're sitting in your hotel room.
Have you gotten bumped?
Yes, absolutely. I have. Yeah. And it sucks because you've got, you know, you got something to sell, a product to promote.
Do you still get paid though? Is it more like a slap in the face?
You don't get paid unless it's like an after or SAG like thing. There's an after, you know, some sort of
But it seems like
time
they would
window,
waste your
some of that.
time bringing you in.
you take it, you
Wow.
know. I mean, but Van, they called me. I was in New York, and Regis and Kelly was we were on, which was classic, by the way, because I've done Regis and Kelly with Trump 4 times.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
wow.
4 times you've been on with Donald Trump?
So Donald Trump.
So do you think if
so
you
Don-
ran
so-
into
so-
Donald Trump at a bar in Des Moines,
Oh,
would he know
I
you?
talked to him. I talked to him. He was on Celebrity Apprentice. I was on Celebrity Apprentice when they had the Penn and Teller. So Penn and Teller, when I was doing my show in Vegas,
Right?
This Teller doesn't talk though, right?
no, Teller just doesn't say a word, but Penn's amazing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's
So
a big
threw
fucker
all
too,
of us
isn't
in.
he?
They threw all of us into the mix, and you know, I was vying for, you know, a spot on Celebrity Apprentice at the time, but I, you know, was on you know, Trump and I and Kelly, because Trump was a host for Regis, so Regis and Trump were very close, you know, and that's the reason why Trump did so many shows
Yeah.
with Regis. I mean, you know, it was. We could talk about this in another.
I know.
We'll do another one. So
Look, I got a lot. Hey,
I got-
listen, I got a lot of stories that I've
I
never
know,
told
but
before.
so you get bumped for Van Morrison, but he
Hold
ends
on.
up being a nice guy. He ends up being a
Look,
nice guy.
you know,
Yeah,
this
I
is
know,
bad when your
I know.
entourage says, "Hey,
I know, I know. We're
Last
almost
question.
done. We're
This
almost
is it.
done.
Last question. So
Is this the Elton John? Okay.
Yes. So I've only seen him one time. Probably, to me, the most talented guy I've ever seen. If I was to ask you, because this is interesting, that he never plays my favorite song. What is your favorite Elton John song?
I know what yours is,
I
and he
know.
never plays it.
Never.
Holy Moses, let us live in peace.
Really?
I've seen the specter, he has been there too. Distant color from down the line, ran of people who ain't my kind. Holy Moses, let us live in peace.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
amazing. Not what I was going with, but that's amazing.
Really good. That's a great way
So
to
I
end.
finally got to see him like 8 years ago at Caesars, and
We all
And not yet. We're
no,
about to be.
well, we don't have to be. I mean,
no, but
no, we're
but
going to wrap up.
the ability to play piano at that level and sing at that level and be able to songwrite at that level. I mean, he's he's
look,
a Mount
it's-
Rushmore
it's-
guy for me.
It's a duo thing. I mean, Bernie Taupin
Yeah.
and Elton. I mean, you have Elton is you know, and for your viewers, Elton was a disciple of a piano player called Long Baldry. Long is
that yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
and Elton John story. So I was in Atlanta. So he had a condo in Atlanta on the top floor.
Yeah.
Super like
I got some stories about that too.
super like we couldn't get in, but
Yeah.
like you know,
Yeah,
I was with some people that were in there.
right.
Had a he had
Yeah.
a condo on the top
Yeah.
floor.
I can only
But
imagine
they
the
were like,
decorations.
you know, she was like, let's go see Elton's place. And we opened the elevator doors and it's like something out of like the Dark Crystal or some shit.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
only
Like,
imagine.
It's a trip, but you
Yeah.
know what?
It's
Yeah.
so weird that he and Brown, I don't know if you know this, early 90s, he relocated his United States pad was Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You got to go.
This show is over. All right. It is the Mystery Fifth Hour. Let me do the commercial real quick.
We're not that boring.
Yeah. Presented by.
I mean, you know what? After a few drinks at the concert, I felt like I put my best foot forward with you guys.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
No, this was fantastic.
Dunaway's still here.
Yeah, Dunaway.
but-
Yeah, I mean, this is not like Miami. That's, you know,
That's what he told
he's
me.
actually in a comfortable, you know,
You-
place. You know,
That night, in Miami.
Trust
if, if Taylor told him once, he had to loosen up. Taylor told him like 50 Dunaway.
and it's
Br-
amazing what y'all have done with Dunaway
Yeah.
too. I mean, look, I think Dunaway is a great study. He's you know, obviously
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we have a really great rapport. You
Yeah.
know, because the journalistic aspect.
I
you
know.
that's the key.
We unleashed
Which is
him
great,
a little
you know
bit.
what? And I'm really happy for all of you guys because I believe in you guys, and I'm really happy the way that the show's going. And
Well, thank you.
you know, I'm a fan, you know, I listen, and you know, I'm in the planes and listening and stuff, and
So as we sit here, next week or 2
I'm
weeks?
doing the June Jam, by the way.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
June
can
Jam.
I,
this.
Can I fucking plug
Please,
something here?
please.
But I want to ask
If
you
they'll let you
about
stay,
regions too.
well, he can't play because he tore his ACL.
Okay.
Tore my ACL.
Well, you're coming out, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna
You'll
be
be out
out for
there.
the weekend. I'm not gonna be. I've got a
Hey, not our fault. His fault.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Ronald McDonald House in Atlanta. I'm doing, and then I'll be around for the weekend. But yeah, first regions I've missed in 15 years. And
So-
I was, you know, I mean, look, they like when I was hot, you know, they flew, you know, Ronnie flew, you know, they were flying me in and out of that, you know, tournament. And
Derek Purdy, you know Derek well from Innisfree.
yeah,
He's a Fort Payne guy.
That's right.
Fort Payne June Jam.
Yeah.
I got introduced to country music in the early 90s and absolutely love that festival. You've been there before. What will it be like to come back and play there?
I've never been there. Never.
You've
done
never
it,
been to June Jam.
But Randy, listen, Randy, I've gotten to know.
I'm
Randy.
coming this year. Let's do a show from there.
We'll see.
I will.
Dunaway, Fort Payne show, June Jam.
I will ask, because I've always, you know, over the years as an Alabamian, I've always heard about it.
We'll sponsor
And,
a TP for you.
Let's do it. And you know, I've known Randy over the years, and I've got some great Randy stories. Some classic.
Is he a wild man?
He was.
Okay.
You know, but he's still he's the greatest. And honestly, to me, probably one of the outside of Hank Williams Jr., probably one of the most prolific poets in song that Alabama's ever seen.
I do agree with what Brown said to a different degree. I think he's one of the most underrated country guys ever.
Lay me down and love me all night long. Hold me close and make me strong. Lay me down. Love in the First Degree.
Love in the First Degree is terrific.
I mean,
Wait, start Love in the First Degree. I bet I can sing this.
Feels so right. It's good.
I mean, yeah. And you know what? Here's the
What's the bullfrog?
I mean,
That's
you know, what here? I got something. I got
Okay.
So
what's the
Randy.
bullfrog?
So Jeff Cook came to see me when I was in Vegas, and Jeff's
Sam Cooke's son?
No, Jeff Cook
Jeff,
is
who was in
Alabama.
So Jeff was like
Just passed recently.
he said
keyboard?
No,
Computer.
played the fiddle.
played fiddle and stuff. But he was a member.
Just
and,
shut up and let Taylor.
Jeff
do it.
said we had a song that was Dixie. It was the Christmas time in Dixie.
Yeah.
And Jeff would they all, because they did it so much, Jeff they made it into Big Mac and some fries. So they changed the whole.
Yeah. I used to love Christmas in Dixie when I was a kid. That's such a good
man,
song.
you know what? Thanks
So,
for having me on.
Anyway,
you know,
though,
you sober me
June
up.
June
Wow.
Jam.
I just walked out of the gates of this amazing concert.
Who else is going to
Sorry.
be
get
June
on and
Jam?
be
You
on?
already say this?
Old Dominion,
Yep.
Mark Wills, Alabama, myself.
Are you country now?
I mean, I was country.
I was country when
Well,
country
was it cool?
Well,
Yep.
you know what? I played country festivals. I mean, look, I'm a
Motherfucker, I know you're versatile.
I'm a roadhouse musician. You go down to listen to Bama. It was, you know,
Hey, they keep going.
Hey, real
Let's
quick,
go.
real quick.
cheers.
I think you lost your girlfriend.
McCurry Van and Car Rental. If
Yeah.
you need a car, van, or truck, rent from McCurry. McCurry Van and Car Rental, local rental company you can depend on. All kinds of vehicles to choose from. That includes trucks, SUVs, and passenger vans. Easy in, easy out. Athens, Muscle Shoals, Huntsville, Coleman on 2nd Avenue Northwest, Tuscaloosa, Skyland Boulevard, 256-559-1003, 256-559-1003, or McCurryRentals.com. Please give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to
Thanks,
our YouTube
everybody.
channel. Set your alerts so you know when we're live on special shows like this. And follow us on social media at Next Round Live. Genuinely, you know we love you. You're like a brother to us.
Thank you.
You've always been amazing to us. We
I
appreciate it.
believe in the product.
Well, we love you. Thank you, Taylor.
I've got stories.
We'll tell some more soon. That is Taylor Hicks on the Mr.